The Council for Ethiopian Diaspora Action and the Ethio-American Civic Council are Ethio-American Diaspora Civic Associations, working in unity for civic engagement and advocacy for peace, democracy, good governance, to foster and advance social and economic prosperity in Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa. The councils are due to hold Global Ethiopian Diaspora Virtual Forum on February 28th. In this regard, I'm going to spend some time with Alamayo Abebe and Tebabu Asafa to stay with us. Greetings from Ethiopia and welcome to this program.
Thank you.
Now, to begin with, let's talk about the councils. Can you tell me what they are and what they're about? Can you bring us up to speed?
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for ETV and Ato Shifarra for giving us this opportunity. And CIDA, which stands for Council for Ethiopian Diaspora Action, and EACC stands for Ethiopian American Civic Council. And these are the two organizations, sister or Ethiopian Diaspora Civic Association, who are working in unity for the engagement and advocacy for peace, democracy, good governance in Ethiopia, and foster advanced social and economic prosperity in Ethiopia. And CIDA has been established the past 4 months. When we had September 30, Ethiopia is going to be, in a crossroad. We had that big event all over the world, and we had a very successful event. Mm-hmm. And then in the second event, we had the Trump administration holding the $130 million for GERD, and then we had another organized event, and then the third time when we had the Northern Army was attacked by TPLF, we had that organizing events. So it's been events after events. Now we're focusing on, focusing on the work right now.
Maybe Tebabu, do you have something else to say here, to add more?
Yes. First and foremost, thank you very much for ECTV. This is a golden opportunity for us to express our sentiment and love of the nation and our commitment to the reform agenda. The only thing I'd like to add is for the very first time in the last 30 odd years, not only the people of Ethiopia, as a result of the spirit of Meddemer, as a result of the vision the Prime Minister brought to the table, for the very first time, the Ethiopian diaspora has come together. The Ethiopian diaspora has been divided in so many ways, in so many isms and schisms, and neglecting the most urgent need our country has. And so it's a very profound statement to say, finally, the diaspora is coming together. We're putting our differences aside. We've come from different Ethiopian political spectrum, different time, and different social status. But despite all that differences, we're learning how to come together for the call of the motherland. And this is very important because that's what happened 125 years ago. Our forefathers have come together for a common enemy, have put their differences aside, and won. They showed human spirit cannot be defeated. So that is a very significant moment, and we'd like to celebrate that. And I, as a diaspora, a member of the diaspora, who's lived away from his home for such a long time, I'm thrilled to see two giant organizations have come together to bring us home, to bring us to our collective national obligation and call of duty. That I'd like to put on the ground before we go into the detail.
All right, thank you. Let's also talk about the timing of the two councils. That's the Council for Ethiopian Diaspora Action and the Ethio-American Civic Council. What's the reason behind for these two closely knit councils as opposed to previous times, if you like?
Well, we have a long-term and a short-term goal. The short-term, number one, within the next 3 to 6 months, we'll call a general assembly, and then we'll have a new executive because right now we're temporary, and we're going to have a general assembly from Europe, Africa, Australia, Middle East, North America, to elect a new executive committee and board of directors. And the second objective is pulling up to diaspora for 500 diaspora SIDA members within 2 years to register between 1.5 million to 1 million to 1.5 million diaspora from all over the world. Number three, by next year, February 2022, to celebrate the 126th Adwa celebration in the city of Adwa with thousands of diaspora and international people, 1 week celebration. But we want the Ethiopian government to be prepared to handle thousands of tourists with air, ground transport, hotel, restaurants, boat rides, bike rides in Lake Tana, Wanchi, Koisha, and Gorgora, same time creating thousands of new jobs. Number four is SIDA is partnership with the Ethiopian American Civic to encourage Ethiopian American to participate through community organizing, advocacy, public policy, leadership, development, outreach, and cultivating partnership with the other communities. Our long-term is still on the discussion to teach and educate the young generation who were lost in the past 30 years by ethnic and tribe, were not educated from elementary to college, Ethiopian's history and the history of Adwa for the next 10 to 20 years to be Ethiopian. Number two, bridging cultural gaps by organizing awareness in conference, workshops, focus groups, discussions. Number three, Ethiopian in diaspora efficiently used to facilitate and deliver knowledge, technology, social and economic assistance to Ethiopia and accept economic and social development in the country. Those are the short-term and long-term goals.
As I said, by the way, I'm not a member of the organization, but I'm a very strong supporter. I am a social entrepreneur and an activist. I have my own lane. I work on economic engagement to redefine Ethiopian presence in the global market. But that is my ambition, my particular lane of contribution. But at this junction, I've come to join them because, as I said earlier, this is a call of duty. And so I am going to be working with the council in collaboration because the way forward is collaboration and cooperation. And no matter what our perspectives are. So I am a proud member of the US Ethiopian diaspora and a proud supporter of the initiative these two organizations have put on the table.
May I add something on this?
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I want to know, and all Ethiopian people, SIDA is non-politics, non-ethnic, non-religion, working with any ruling party or government elected by the people to support in finance, advocacy, lobbying, countries abroad, just like the Jewish, the German, the Italian, the Korean, etc. for Ethiopia. So that's most important that we have to be highlighted.
Now, you are also due to hold the Global Ethiopian Diaspora Virtual Forum soon. Please bring me up to speed in this regard. Who are the participants and what's its message going to be like? So, Babu,
That's a very good question. Okay, let me start from the very immediate, immediate and here in the US. As it is organized to bring the Ethiopian diaspora globally. They have both CEDA has members from beyond the borders of America. They have members from England. They have members from Sweden. They have members from. It's a young organization, but it has quite a global reach, and so it is a global Ethiopian diaspora platform. And coming back, I think at this junction we should talk about what is the relevance of Adwa when we say Adwa 125th anniversary. What is that we're celebrating? And what is the message that we're teaching our children that we raise in the diaspora? What is the message that we send to the global community as far as Ethiopians' presence is concerned? So let me first anchor a very significant, important point that is true, yes, 125 years ago, that is true today. In fact, I will say in this particular time in the global political discourse, we see two lines of thought. One is nationalism, as it was pursued by Trump, me sentiment. And the other one is I'd like to underscore this, is a voice and a philosophy labeled as Meddemer, coming together. So unity, a collective and an individual approach to political discourse. And as we can see, the world is in crisis because of that national country-oriented division. We will never go anywhere. Actually, that happens to be the case in Ethiopia as well. So people are divided in all ways and forms and schisms and isms. So Adwa stands as an Ethiopian historical lesson, not only to Ethiopia, to the world as well, that adversity of any kind can only be overcome when people come together. You know, Adwa is a symbolical, a light post. You know, the people of Ethiopia from the four corners of the world, four corners of the nation have converged on the battlefield, answering to the call of national existence. No matter what their differences, they've come together and shown the world, no matter how powerful the invader was, they were able to defeat it in 3 hours. So unity is first and foremost, is what we underscore. People united can never be defeated. And a nation cannot survive without the unity, the spirit of unity of her people. That was true then, and that is true today. And we Ethiopians have to learn that. Our enemy, as far as I'm concerned, is poverty. And the cause of poverty to me is our marginalized presence in the global market, our marginalized political presence, economical presence, and cultural presence. Unless we overcome that, the poverty that our people suffer under cannot be overcome, or we cannot resolve that issue. So unity is important, diversity is important, and the people are those who made a difference. In fact, to be honest with you, if you look at the current crisis in the north, what won? In fact, I've heard a general speak about this in the context of the current Ethiopian crisis in the north. The Ethiopian defense forces were able to defeat because they represented the diversity of Ethiopia, and two, because their human spirit, no matter what the arms, no matter what the physical reality of the warfare psychology was. So unity and diversity are two important things I would like to underscore. Another thing next to that, which is very, very important, and maybe this is time for Ethiopians to reflect. Maybe this is the time Ethiopians to, you know, in Amharic there is this saying. They also have the same saying in English. But you know, a gold at hand is considered. We have a shining historical example that we can teach our children and the world. Unity and diversity is our asset, not our, it shouldn't be our weakness. That's number one. Number two, again, you know, the issue of flag, the issue of a country. What is a country? What is a flag? Flag is not a piece of cloth. Country is not a piece of land. Flag, Sandek Alama, flag of a mission, Sandek Alama and Ager are a core identity of a collective of people, spiritually, intellectually, psychologically, name it. Ethiopianness is in my blood. You know, the flag I wear is in my blood. The flag is only a physical representation of my psyche. So that was sustained, that was kept alive for me by the price paid by the ancestors who came together. And today I wear it not as a piece of cloth, as my whole core identity. So people have to understand, people inside and outside of Ethiopia have to understand, and we the people of Ethiopia have to profoundly articulate that. And because, you know, Ethiopia has been there for thousands and thousands of years, and she will continue to be there, because Ethiopianness is in the blood of the children of the many diverse people of Ethiopia who make home in that land, in that God-blessed land. So also the two things that I'd like to underscore before we go further into the global implication of Adwa, because we're celebrating it, by the way, we're celebrating Adwa not only as an Ethiopian victory, we're celebrating it as an African victory. We're also celebrating it as a victory of good over evil. Good over evil. And in fact, we can teach the world. Right now, the whole global world is under crisis. COVID is bringing us to our knees. So how do we get out of COVID collectively as the global people of the world? I dare say, as an Ethiopian, let's learn from Adwa. Coming together, unity. We can defeat COVID only when we stand together as human beings. One and one only. So I'm glad the United Nations is having a program to make sure vaccine is distributed globally. So even today, Adwa is relevant. So those are the two balances. Yesterday, yes, we're celebrating it because it was a wonderful, amazing story that surprised and fascinated the whole world in the struggle to stop colonialism. In fact, Adwa is the only battle that was won in the context of Africa that stopped colonizers on their aggression track.
Maybe Alex, I want you to tell us, for the people that are that familiar with the event, when is the exact day of this event going to be, and also the participants?
Yes, thank you for the question. We're going to celebrate on February 28th. It's 12 p.m. in Eastern time in the United States. And then I believe it's 8 p.m. in Ethiopian time, which is Kamshitu Lasat. So, and then there will be dignitaries from Ethiopian dignitaries and also from African leaders and congressmen and senators from the United States and ambassadors and so many officials will be participating in the meeting. So it's going to be a big event for about probably 4 to 5 hours on that day.
How can this popularize the victory of Adwa more among the Black people, the Black Americans, especially in the context of the fight against oppression, or in the context of the Black Lives Matter movement?
Yeah, that is a very good question.
Yeah.
Where shall I start? Okay, let me start from Pan-Africanism. You know, the global Black movement, Pan-Africanism, was inspired by Adwa. Right after Adwa, the news that Ethiopia defeated a foreign, an European empire, the news went to the four corners of the world. It had inspired people from Cuba, people from Latin America, Brazil, and people in Europe, black people, black and brown people in Europe and America. And the birth of, in fact, Pan-Africanism prior to that was known as Ethiopianism, because Ethiopia was the only country that had an intact 3, 4, 5, 10,000 of years of history. So Adwa was a birth. Marcus Garvey started the movement inspired by Adwa. So for black people, Adwa was, Ethiopia and Adwa were a symbol of freedom, a symbol of unity. That is number one. Number two, currently, I'm glad you mentioned Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a struggle, a current manifestation of the struggle of the African American people for justice, for inequity. As we all know, the history of the African Americans in America has been a violent history, from slavery all the way to civil rights. African Americans are on a constant fight for equity and freedom. Even though America is the most democratic country in the world, within that context, America has a challenge to address the equity issue as far as the black and brown people of America is concerned. And we Ethiopians who make America home, we're also under that banner. We're also the new blood of the African American experience. So even for Black Lives Matter, the unity element is very crucial, because unless people, in fact, in a Black Lives Matter, they would, they will chant, united people can never be defeated. So that is a relevance in that context. And then, because we are Ethiopian Americans, we have duality, two identity to our political thinking. First and foremost, we work hard. We work hard in America. We're making America great. Ethiopians are in all sectors of the American political, social, cultural, economical landscape, making America great. In fact, taking away from Ethiopia, because most of us were educated by Ethiopian farmers when we were in school. We've come here, we're contributing to America, we're making America great. We're also Ethiopians. So by the fact that we're living and working and paying tax in America, we have a purchasing power, we have an investment power, because we are voters, we have a political power. So we also have to be mindful of our country of origin, the people of Ethiopia. And we have to make sure we leverage this coming together, this unity, so that our collective political capital will be invested to influence American foreign policy in favor of peace, democracy, prosperity in Ethiopia. So not only we're celebrating Adwa, we're also exemplifying our coming together, our political capital. So the powers to be will recognize that we, as much as we are Americans, we're Ethiopians as well. So our Ethiopian American identity is going to be implemented or utilized or exploited to bring, just like we made America great, we also want to make Ethiopia great. So we can influence American political policy, foreign policy, not only to Ethiopia, to the region as well. So that's why dignitaries are invited to this celebration. They recognize Ethiopia as a sovereign state. Ethiopia is a historical country. The people of Ethiopia are proud people. They have a sovereign right. They have to be respected. That is first and foremost. And then, because the well-being of Ethiopia is the well-being of the world, the well-being of America. Ethiopia's interest is America's interest, because we all want to live in a democratic framework. We all want to prosper economically. So even in that context, this is when we flex our political capital, because so far we've never done it because we're divided. By the way, a lot of Americans, African Americans, even white Americans, scholars, historians, know the significance of Adwa. We just haven't used it. We just haven't owned it. We just haven't owned it and proudly announced it and and asked the respect Ethiopia deserves for that. So even from the history to our political reality in the US, Adwa is a fire that we can count on.
If I may, I wanted to add something in terms of to Baba, my colleague, has been saying so many times about this coming together. It's amazing. I've been here for 40 years, and I never seen organization flooded and have a big name in a short time like SIDA, because I've been involved with so many organizations, and they last maybe a year or 2 or 3 years, like any political organization, they disappear. But SIDA has gotten a good name, and our plan is to have we have located about 147 organizations all over the world. So far, we have almost 40 organizations working together, and our goal is in the next 2 years trying to reach those 147 organizations and put 2.5 to 3 million Ethiopian diaspora all over the world, and then have a good political, giving political pressure to the countries like Europe and America, and then to have a good finance to support Ethiopia. We're planning to do a lot of those individuals to be involved in Ethiopian politics, in Ethiopian and activities, knowledge, technology. So that's our long-term goal, because I've never seen organization that's getting together with humble and very open-hearted people getting together, especially in the past 2 weeks. It's been very, very amazing people. The Ethiopian civic organization and SIDA has our long plan is to work together to merge one, to show the world one organization and one focus. So that's our plan is. So hopefully in the next 2 years we can have a good progress.
I've lived away from Ethiopia for a long time. I left at a young age. I don't want to tell you how old I am by telling you when I left, but I left a long time ago. But despite the fact that I left a long time ago, I'm an Ethiopian. I'm an Ethiopian American, but my fire is Ethiopian. And I want to pass that to my children I raise in America. Ethiopianness. So because, here in the US, there's a lot of absurdity. There's a lot of cultural battle. Racism is an evil thing to fight. Racism will make people feel less. And my fight in racism, not only to my children, to racism on a larger scale, is to showcase the beauty and the freedom and the culture and the story of Ethiopia. So celebrating this thing, I want my children to grow proud. I don't want nothing to diminish their psyche, even to build the psychological, spiritual humanity of my children. I have to celebrate Adwa in the global stage. In the global stage. That is first and foremost important. Quickly, let me, these two organizations are new, but they're not new. Especially the civic, they've done for the last few years, they've done an amazing job doing advocacy on Capitol Hill in the interest of Ethiopia. And they've repeatedly challenged the US government, the US Congress, to recognize Ethiopians' sovereignty, to recognize the aspiration of the Ethiopian people. As Americans, they've cashed on their political capital to do advocacy for the cause of Ethiopia. So the Ethiopian American Civic Council has shown a path to the diaspora on how we can cash this unity. We're not only celebrating it, we're going to cash it moving forward. In fact, let me personalize it. As I said earlier, I'm on the economical lane. For the last 15 years, I have worked to introduce a new international trade geared towards development to provide Ethiopian farmers and producers organized collectively to have a fair competitive chance in the global market. You know, after unity, actually, when we unite, we're going to resolve the the biggest challenge that we face as a country. But that's not the end. That unity has to be cashed. For instance, if God comes and blesses us today, and all this bickering and fighting dissolves in Ethiopia, if we can all stand as one, we're only able to overcome 40% of our problem. 60% of our problem is our marginalized presence in the global political, cultural, economical landscape. We win on that battle because Ethiopia doesn't live in isolation. Ethiopia lives in the global world. And the outside forces, the external forces are also some of the many challenges Ethiopia faces. So by celebrating Adwa, politically we come together. Culturally, Ethiopia will be respected. And then we will have an economic space where we will be able to channel our investment, our purchasing power to grow Ethiopian economical footing or space in the global market. What do I mean by that? Let me give you a figure. Currently, 110 million Ethiopian people get only $3 billion from the global market every year. 110 million people only get $3 billion by selling whatever we sell in the global market. And our need is $14 billion. So there's a big deficit there. So how do we overcome that? Okay, when we come together, when we learn from Adwa and come together as one, when we stand proud in America with our political capital sharpened, our cultural presence, Ethiopia respected, now we have a good shot at growing Ethiopian economy and in America and the global world. We are 2 million in America, right? Every Ethiopian diaspora has a year, $10,000 a year capacity on a purchasing and investment power. $10,000 can be directed from the income of the diaspora towards purchasing and investment. Which means if you multiply that, 2 million by 10,000 a year, that is $20 billion investment power. 2 million Ethiopians living abroad have $20 billion, and we're buyers, we buy, we consume, and 110 million people only get $3 billion a year. So how do we resolve this? First and foremost, we have to stop bickering and fighting, come together as one and respect our motherland and the price paid to sustain us, and get wise and come together and invest in the global market. Do we know, right now, we sell coffee, green coffee. If you type on Google and say, who makes coffee from the global world? Ethiopia is one of the 5, 6, 10 African countries that sell coffee. But if you ask the same question and say, who is making from the global coffee business, which is $100 billion? Oh, they're all Europeans, America, Switzerland, Italy. Italy is known for coffee in the world because she took coffee from us and introduced it to the world. So we Ethiopians have to wake up. We have to respect and appreciate our oneness, our great history. And not only that, we can only survive together. Our fate is intertwined. We've come along so far as one people because of the price paid. And unless we wake up and say, hey, we're marginalized in the global world because of our own shortcomings. And it's only then, in fact, my advice to the Ethiopian diaspora is not only to come together as one, to be wise, to leverage our political power, purchasing investment power, invest on growing Ethiopian business in America, live an Ethiopian dream, not an American dream, be rich, create wealth, while you live access to the people of Ethiopia and to the farmers who paid for our education, who are marginalized, who work hard from sunrise to sundown, but they can't beat the challenges of life because they get so little from the harvest of their labor. If I give you one example, if you walk to a cafe in America and buy a cup of coffee, you pay, let me just say, $2.50. You will be sad to know only 10 cents of that goes to the green coffee. Ethiopia gives coffee to the world. She only gets 10 cents from the $2.50 we pay. We have to reverse that. We have to take our coffee and partner with our farmer, bring it here, roast it, pack it, sell it to the consumer, and make sure our farmers get a good deal. By the way, that's how the world works. If you walk into a grocery store in America, the wine comes from France, the whiskey comes from Scotland, the cheese comes from France. Everybody sells. In fact, Israel sells tomato, you know? So we have to wake up. Ethiopians have to wake up. And we have to start bickering and fighting and respect our national identity, respect the ancestors who paid dearly, and take advantage of, get our rightful place, leverage our political capital, invest, create wealth, and be dignified. So Adwa means all that to me. Adwa is in my blood. Adwa is my mission. Adwa is my religion. Adwa is what my psyche, my fuel, my jet engine. And I'm gonna make sure my children know that because it has been passed to me from my ancestors. And Ethiopia will continue in my spirit.
You know, the whole world is the eye, especially now after Dr. Abiy came into power, the whole world is on Ethiopia right now. The reason is because Ethiopia has been not colonized for so many centuries, and all these African countries have been colonized. So the Europeans and Americans are dividing the country. You go to Angola, you go to Sudan, you go to all those countries, Ivory Coast, you go to Nigeria, they are creating war among themselves, just like they do in our country, between Egypt and Ethiopia. They wanted the power to loosen the power, so that way they don't be, very economically strong. So they're not going to fight because they want to take our raw material, just like my friend said. They want to take that for free. Look at, for example, uranium. Uranium is the best uranium you can find is in Niger, in Africa. Who takes it? The Europeans. Who takes it? The gold, Angola. Who takes it? The European. Guess why? Because they bribing few leaders, and then they create war among people, ethnic, and then when people fighting and dying, they taking that raw materials and gold and silver to their continent. So they don't want us to grow. They don't want us to be self-sufficient. They want us always to beg for food. That's what they want. So we have to be awake. We have to be awake now because it's time. Now, Africa is, Ethiopia is, the role model because for the whole world, including Africa, because our organization, African Unity, all this AU, even the Ethiopian Airlines, all these huge organizations are in Ethiopia. So if we show the whole Africa, if we have peace and stability, we can be a leader, and then we can lead the whole Africa. So our people, especially politicians, they should stop bickering. They should stop dividing the people. Even the social media, like you guys, we have to be very fair and balanced, and not, not to create among Ethiopians ethnic cleansing in, religious. All those, situations are really has to be controlled by the media. you guys have a very, very powerful power. Media is right now, the whole world, look at CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC. They spread the wrong words to the people. And then they talk about, even the war is not, the right war. And so the media is the most important vehicle. So Ethiopian social medias, you guys have to teach, the whole young children, especially. I know it's 70%, 60% of the young like you guys are very, very, need to be changed, because I know in the past 30 years, the whole generation has been really, really, really in downstream. So we need to teach all the children, and then maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be a lot of work, but it can be done.
2019, I was in Niger. I went to Niger to attend to the signature of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. For the very first time, African countries have come together to build on the infrastructure that was built by the Europeans to sustain what's known as extract economy. The economy that we have in Africa is built by the colonials, and it is extracting resource and sending it to Europe. So it will be finished and comes back to us. In the case of coffee, I was in Niger, in my hotel, I drank a coffee that came from Switzerland, Swiss, Nestle, in Africa. A coffee went to Switzerland and packed and came back to Africa. I, the son of Ethiopia, the mother of coffee, had to drink coffee that came from Nestle. And I got disgusted and I wanted to drink tea. And the tea was a tea that went from Kenya to England, came back as an English breakfast tea. And the chocolate downstairs in the shop is a chocolate that went from West Africa to Switzerland. As a matter of fact, a cocoa farmer, 70% of the world cocoa production comes from West Africa. And a farmer in West Africa cannot even afford to buy a candy that comes from. You will be sad to know, currently, the intra-Africa trade is only 15%. By the way, we have to be smart. Our countries, Africa and Ethiopia, doesn't live in isolation. The foreign powers have tried to bring us down. They've done what they've done all these years to hinder our development, only to make us supplier of the commodity of the world. By the way, Ethiopia is rich in natural resources. Europeans have progressed and created wealth. Where did that wealth come from? The resource came from Africa.
Yes.
Time has to stop. And so the African Union, I'm really very impressed. The African Union has signed the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. I am so impressed. The Africa Import-Export Bank has $8 billion to grow intra-Africa trade. And the time has come for us to add value to our products and compete in the global market. And how do we do that? By the way, in America, in 2018, America passed a legislation called Build Act to redefine America's economical presence in Africa, because the Chinese are dominating the market. And Americans are ready to pull their supply chain from Asia to Africa. They have $60 billion allocated to invest in Africa to redefine the US-Africa trade. The question is, where is that money going to go? How is it going to be invested? Who is going to decide what kind of investment? That money is a money I paid as a tax, a money that we Ethiopians paid in America working hard. So we have to sit on the table and say, okay, this is how we'd like the investment to go. How are we going to get that? When we're united, when we come together and show that we are united people, when we collectively leverage our political capital. In so many ways, ADWA is very, very important. Unity is very, very important.
As both of you know, Ethiopia had to stand alone at the United Nations when Ethiopia presented its case of the invasion by Italy. And currently, Ethiopia's voice seems to be overshadowed or swallowed up, if you like, in the United States of America when it comes to its stance of fair utilization of waters, the Nile waters, especially when it comes to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Now, tell me, what are your councils doing in this regard, especially to help properly propagate Ethiopia's stance of fair utilization of the Abai waters?
Of course, this is very, very crucial and very important because if we don't solve the Nile and the GERD situation, our economy is, aligned with the water. If we don't have no water, because we know that 80% of our people don't have no electricity, and of course the Egyptians, they have 100% electricity, and that's unfair. So no matter what it is, the Ethiopian Civic Council is pressuring the lawmakers, like the senators and the Congress people, as we speak right now. We have so much twittering and so many dialogues going on, in the political ground. So on the ground, they are working so hard day and night, and I really, really appreciate, this group. So they've been working for the past 5 years with their own money, with their own time, with their own everything, and 24/7. So we're working so hard to, the US to not to ally with the Egyptians, and to make sure we have the sovereignty to use our own water, and that's unwavering. So because this GERD has been built by the farmers of the local Ethiopians' money. So no matter what it is, diaspora, we are helping, at any time to finish this at the final level. So hopefully we will. We started, this project, and we'll finish it. This project, and I'm 100% confident. We're working so hard on this issue.
Tibabu, would you like to add something here?
Oh yes. This is very crucial and important. We've done a massive mobilization. The two organizations and many other Ethiopian diaspora leaders have come together as one to influence the American foreign policy. Actually, let me speak as an American, in fact, for a second. It is America's foreign national policy. The U.S. foreign policy is based on democracy, basically democracy and good governance, economic development in America and in the world. Economic development. So from that perspective, it is very important for America to support Ethiopia's interest on the usage of the Nile. Ethiopia sits on the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia is a very strategic member of the world community and a strategic partner of the US with 100 years of diplomatic relationship. And if we look at the fact on the ground, first and foremost, actually, exploiting the natural resources within her boundary, it is Ethiopian sovereign rights. Just because for a lot of foreign external obstacles, Ethiopia did not utilize that, doesn't mean her sovereign rights will be denied. First and foremost, that has to be anchored. After that, on the implementation of it, because it is a natural resource shared by many other people on the Nile, the usage of the Nile has to be fair and equitable to all, because it's our collective resource, our collective existence. But when we say fair and equitable, we have to start by saying who has been benefiting from the Nile so far. The water usage and the electricity between the three countries, the disparity is mind-boggling, and the Egypt and Sudan have used the Nile due to British wicked and one-sided agreement imposed as a colonial power. So for so long, were denied our natural sovereign right to exploit our natural resources. And there are other factors as well, financial factors. And for the very first time, Ethiopians have put together nickels and dimes to build their dam. And no one, I don't care, no power, I don't care about history. I care about him. I care about humanity. You know, so Ethiopia has unwavering and right, but Ethiopia has been fair all along. So it has to be fair and equitable. Ethiopia's sovereign rights cannot be compromised, whether it is the America, the country that I've made home and I like. This cannot be compromised. And the people of the region have to come back to their senses. Our fate is united. Ethiopia has been patient. Now it's Ethiopian right to exploit her natural resources. And we're going to do it fairly, but we cannot compromise that. By the way, our political standing in the globe, because we were so divided and shattered, that's why we're not respected. But moving forward, by raising the flag of Adwa, we have to show the whole world we don't compromise. Because 110 million people, we're talking about 110 million people in Ethiopia who've been marginalized by international external forces and denied their natural God-given right to exploit their. So it is a serious matter. We're going to do it fairly. We're going to do it equitably. But Ethiopia has to be, in fact, supported, because the prosperity of Ethiopia is the prosperity of the region. The development of Ethiopia is the development of the region. Peace in Ethiopia is peace in the region. And America has a vested interest. It is in line. The Ethiopian policy towards the Nile is in line with the US foreign policy. And as an American, I'm going to remind my senators and my congressmen and the US Congress and the government, with my fellow Ethiopian diaspora, we're going to fight for that right. So far, we're fragmented, but we're coming back to our senses, and we're going to grow this unity.
As Mr. Tababa said, even though the Egyptians, allocated $800,000 lobbying group, hiring a lobbying group, and our the Ethiopian American Civic Council have found the best lobbyist company with even a third less money, less than 200,000, that they can do what they pay 3 times. So now our next project after Adwa celebration is moving forward to, we know that Ethiopian government doesn't have hard currency. We're trying to allocate a budget to fight this up to the tooth nail. And that's our plan. So I just want Ethiopian people to know that's our next project.
Ethiopia is preparing for its national election. How are you going to support Ethiopia in conducting free and fair election?
As we follow the news, the election committee, they've been working so hard to make the election fair and election, and led by with Mrs. Burtukan Mideksa. And I'm sure there is, when we hear, the news every day with so many developments, that trying to do it even electronically to have everyone's voice heard. And we will encourage Ethiopian people to have their voice heard. We've seen it in 1997 during the big election. 60 million people went out to vote, and hopefully at this time 100 million people will go out and vote, because there's thousands of voting booths, and I'm sure all political opposition parties are allowed to freely put their political agenda, and then make sure they are communicated, and then have a fair safety. Safety is the most important issue. I'm sure there is remnants of the TPLF here and there, and but hopefully during election in any country, there is always this kind of situation. We shouldn't be very alarmed, but we have to do that safety for the people who are running, to do campaigns. They have to be very safe. Government has to give them, protection, and that's the most important thing. So we don't, that those things don't happen, frequently. So that's what we can say. Thank you.
Mr. Tamabu?
Let me qualify this by saying, I am an Ethiopian American, and I have to be careful and not interfere in the country's election process. But this is what I will say. For the very first time in the history of Ethiopia, here comes a chance for Ethiopians to do a very authentic, so many elections have been conducted, but they're all questionable elections. For the very first time, everybody's there, everybody's ready, everybody's mobilizing. And I just say it has to be fair. Everybody has to be given the opportunity to say what they propose. They have to propose to the people. It's the people's voice. It has to be fair, and also have to be careful here, because even in America, election is very controversial. Nothing is perfect. We just have to work with what we have. And it has to be a fair game. It has to be equitable, and everybody has to play by the rule. In fact, what fascinates me is Ethiopians are getting a chance for the very first time to exercise the power of democracy. That itself is an achievement. Who wins is the power, the will of the people. But we have to nurture this opportunity and grow it, and stop looking at the problem, and the issue of what's in the glass and what's missing in the glass. We have to appreciate what's in the glass and keep working to fill the gap. And I advise all the players to be fair. I advise the government to be fair. I advise the people to vote their voice. For the very first time, Ethiopians have come together to show that we can vote, we can exercise our human right and vote what kind of political system we want. So that opportunity has to be given a chance. And I am very hopeful. I'm very excited. I've never seen anything like this in Ethiopia. And I want to make sure it's fair and equitable, and everybody has access, and everybody is given an opportunity to express what their vision is. And their vision has, one thing I want from the political parties is we have a problem. Problem is poverty. What is their vision to bring our people out of poverty? And I also want to remind them, Ethiopia doesn't live in isolation. I also want them to have a global vision, because Ethiopia is a country among many. The reality, the geopolitical reality, politics, culture, economy of the world shapes our reality. What is their vision? How do we compete? All this is on the table. So I am looking, I'm excited, I am hopeful, and I am grateful, in fact, to have this opportunity to see for the very first time Ethiopians will have a chance.
I would like to thank you, one individual, about the architecture of this 125th Adwa celebration by creating, organizing, writing from scratch. Give thanks and credit on behalf of SIDA and EACC, Ethiopian Civic Organization. On behalf of Ethiopian people, Mr. Alabacho Desalegn from United Kingdom, who is currently working in the Ethiopian Culture Collection and photographer. I want to thank him because he has done so much work with us, and he's. I wanted everyone to give thanks to him and keep up the good job. And also, I want to thank you, Atush Farrao and the ETV, for giving us this opportunity, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Alamayo and Tamabu, thank you so much for your wonderful perspectives, and I hope we'll meet sometime again, and keep up